So hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a art video or a all of my art video. I have made a video that I will link on the screen right now if you guys want to see some older artwork, some Dawson College accepted portfolio artwork, and also just drawings that I did from 17 to 21. But today I'm going to be showcasing all of the art, the paintings, the sketchbook drawings. So it's basically going to be a sketchbook tour, a painting or my paintings tour. These pieces will be in my art gallery exhibition very soon. I just want to say a big thank you and invite you to like this video if you like it and want to see more content like this. So beginning with the most recent pieces, this is a still life that I did for my drawing class. This was the first time that I ever used charcoal on paper. I've always used graphite pencils and 8B graphite pencils to do my very intense black sketches, but it was the first time that I used like a charcoal stick and the push and pull method with pushing the pigment in and pulling it out with eraser and smudging, and it's a very interesting process. I actually loved this process. This was really fun. It took me about a day to finish. I definitely could have spent more time on the details, but because I had a time crunch of only a week to finish this and other homework, I decided to just do the bare minimum for this drawing. I did get a little lazy with the pan because I just used technique. Since this is a drawing assignment, I will be giving this in on Wednesday, and I want to do the proper like frog tape reveal when I get it back. So many sketchbooks. Okay, so diving straight on into the sketchbooks before I get into the paintings. So the first sketchbook I have to show you guys is from 2021. This is when I was in my graphics design program at Dawson. It definitely isn't anything special. I did like collage some of the pieces, but the first page I have here is one of the sketches that I did to get into Dawson. So this was a required sketch. And again, I will link the video on the screen for you guys if you guys want to go check that out. I am really sad that I don't have those pieces anymore. I'm not entirely sure where they went, but for the majority I do still have like a couple of them here and there. And over here was just a random pastel sketch at a cafe with my friend Noemi. We loved this cafe called Shaughnessy or Shaughnessy Cafe near Dawson, and they have like really interesting tables and really interesting like succulent plants in terracotta pots. I also stuck a little sticker in the corner. I thought it was kind of cool. The next drawing in here that I have to show you guys is a play on an assignment that I had at the time. Wonky looking shapes and like everything was done in black liner and Sharpie, and so I used the same method for the border of this piece. I started drawing a pastel snake leaf plant because we have a lot of those at my college. The next page I'm actually kind of proud of. I forgot that this was in here. This was a sketch. The face here done in pen was a sketch that I did when I was, I believe, 17. I did a lot of pen sketches back then because I had a collage style visual journal. I used to love doing these visual journals, and I wish that I had the time for them today. I think about them a lot recently and I'd love to get back into them, so maybe I will, but I used to just collect little things from my day-to-day life and create like a little collage with the story of how my day went. So the next page that I have is actually kind of inspired by the journal process that I was talking about. It's an old photo from my trip to Sitsil, and I also have a little Polaroid of when I went to Riga with my friend Natasha. In the corner I wrote, "Are we truly living? What is our soul's true purpose during this simulation? Torn between two realities, torn between playing the game or having it play you. There is many ways to experience this reincarnation. Why do I want to experience it all now? I want to frolic in an untouched field again. Wind in my hair, no weight to my feet, feeling like I'm alone in this world again." I also drew the duality perspective of being torn between two opposing views or opposing decisions. I forgot what these are called. Complementary colors? I think that they're complementary colors, but I put the complementary colors of blue and orange because we were learning about color theory back then. Of course, I forgot everything that we learned. Ego and the truest self, that was the theme behind these two ripping phases. So the next page is a little bit finer in detail because this is where I got my micron pens, but here again I put yellow and blue, and in the corner I wrote solar plexus chakra plus throat chakra battling. Tuesday, first time using micron pens, non-realistic outlines of a human face, no reference. I forgot to mention that the colors in the back are watercolor, and so I kind of redid the idea of the chakras battling, and the ego seems to have purpose and drive while the communication is trying to oppose that because it is the truest and highest self. So that was what I was doing, and I also did some watercolor for future outlines that I never got to finish. I ripped one out. If I find a photo, I'm going to put it on the screen, but I can't seem to locate where that piece went. It might be in my other sketchbooks. Let me check. And then this last one is all about the heart chakra, where it's clouding her eyes, it's blocking her speech, it's blocking her mouth. So love that was clouding her vision and clouding her communication because she loved so much. So I also added the tears at the top and the bottom of the head because it symbolizes the pain of being torn away from a soul connection, and how it takes quite literally a chunk of you. And this was all mixtures that I was doing for a project. I had to do a color wheel project by mixing primary colors to get all of these colors, and I needed to be very specific in the colors. So this was a really fun project. So the next page is I Can't See S-H-I-T. This was quite a difficult time in my life when I drew this, and I felt very torn, like the drawings were prefacing before. And it says, please, I need clarity, I need clarity, I need clarity, but I can't see, help me, help me, help me. And it was just the feeling of not being able to see the right choice or what felt right at the moment. 2021, hey. This is a drawing that fell out. After that, I just have a pastel green eye. I don't remember exactly why I drew this piece, but it wasn't anything special. I did this in the span of I think like 5 minutes. And then I have the rest of the sketchbook blank because I don't finish things. Woohoo! An Amazon package just came in. And the sketch that fell out was Tyler the Creator, because I used to be very obsessed with him when I was 17. So this I think I drew when I was 16, 17, and it has been through better days. So next up for the sketchbooks is my 2021 to 2022 sketchbook. The reason that I stop a sketchbook and I continue in another one is because I'm entering a new phase in life and it feels wrong to continue with the same sketchbook. I used to have this problem with journals as well, but recently I finished all 3 of my journals from 2020 to 2023, which I'm going to be getting a new one very soon because I'm almost done, but at least I've somehow managed to fix that for journals. But this one, I believe that I didn't finish it either. It was close to being done. Oh, this was the piece actually that I was talking about that I ripped out. This one was intuition and vision. So it was the third eye chakra and the crown chakra. And you can see that her third eye is activated. I did this again with micron pens and white liner. So opening the sketchbook, here is what I meant by the collage section of my art. Sometimes when an art book feels a little too bare, with the same mentality of doing a collage style of my day, I used to do this with art as well for all of the little pieces that I didn't know what to do with. Right here we have a pastel eye with some pastel sushi that again I did in school, and on this side I have a face that I never got to finish that is very sun-kissed, and I think it's really pretty. I'm sad that during the time I was really upset with myself that I felt like I couldn't draw anymore when I did this, and I'm looking back and I'm like, wow, that nose is so pretty. And what I wrote says, perspective is art. I have no idea what I'm doing 99% of the time. In fact, I don't know anything at all. I guess the beauty lies in the fact that no one does either. I would say these days I lack vision, passion, energy, motivation, and creativity. But isn't that just one perspective? The lack mindset will rob you of a time, season, or lesson. A time for rest is just as important as a time to do, yet I say I lack these things and deny myself of the foundation. Inspiration, creativity is like a flower. It needs water, nutrients, and most importantly, days and nights to grow. It can't always be days, and it can't always be nights. Balance is bound to step in. And so let the night fall and replenish the life force to creativity. The next page is one of my favorite drawings. I have this pen sketch, this pen portrait. There was this really pretty girl that I saw online, so I decided to draw her in pens. I actually haven't drawn in pens in so long, and I kind of miss it. It was kind of like the theory foundation base of my paintings. You have to, just with the pressure of your hand, control the entire drawing. So that's what I like about pen drawings, is that it's one tone and it's all dependent on the pressure that you put with your hand. So right here I have some magic mushrooms. They were studies done when I was taking magic mushrooms, and I have this beautiful portrait. I'm really proud of this one. I'm looking at it in the mirror as I'm like, oh. So the next drawings that I have here is this pastel mushroom. I actually taped a piece of parchment paper because I didn't want it to smudge, but I have this really cute mushroom that I did. This was my first introduction to Amanita mushrooms, and I decided to do a little pastel study within 5 minutes. And over here I have a study of a hand. So I think I just went like this and I drew my hand. Again, this was done in HB pencil. So moving forward, I have this drawing. I'm gonna put the photo on the screen, the photo reference to this drawing. It was avocado toast that I had on Ace Bakery bread, and I decided to do it in pastel because pastel was very fun for me. It was kind of like sculpting with pencils. And now that I've tried oil paints, it has definitely been a game changer because it's kind of like a more detailed version of pastel. Like it's liquid gold basically. And the next page has another portrait, and this one I put upside down. Again, this was a collage style of my 2021 sketchbook. And over here I had a letter, poem, just random bit of writing that I wrote to my boyfriend, and I stuck an eye in the middle. The next page is this really cool drawing that I did. I drew a rainbow Crayola pencil hand, and I did a bunch of like zigzaggy stuff with a fine point liner with a micron liner all around. And next to it, when I went to the Shaughnessy Cafe in Montreal, I also drew the Maynard's breakfast sandwich that I was having at the time. So I took a photo and I went to the cafe and I drew it. I would always keep like a small little pack of pastels on me and draw at whatever cafe that I went to. And the next page has a drawing of an eye in it. So again, this was done with some graphite pencils. I mainly use a lot of Mont-Marte products. It's rare that I will use anything else except for Winsor Newton and Linguini. So the next sketchbook, and I'm going to try and explain the theory of these three. So these three sketchbooks, these two are Mont-Marte sketchbooks and this one is Fabriano. The other two were just Canson multimedia sketchbooks, I forgot to mention. So basically I decided that my art making process was too chaotic, and this is why I wouldn't continue using a sketchbook. If I would split it up into 3 categories of different mediums, then I would be drawing more. So this turned out to be my watercolor sketchbook, where I dive deeper into the knowledge of watercolor. And once again, I started these when I started painting more, so I haven't really gotten to do much. But with this process of splitting up into 3 categories, it stops me from not finishing a sketchbook, because I will always grab my graphite pencil sketchbook, even if I did some chicken scratch in it the day before, because it's all about the graphite. It's not about the time frame, if you will. So it's just like an organization method that helps my ADHD brain. So in this one, I have only 2 pieces so far. I have this skull that I did when I was first trying out the watercolor set that I got. I have this Japanese watercolor set, and I also have a Mont-Marte watercolor set that I recently got that is so beautiful. And so this was kind of really weird looking, and I also put some white Muji pen details as well. And the next one is just 2 koi fish, and I was just playing around. Me and my boyfriend were sitting on my floor and drawing and painting. The other day I wanted to do another piece, but all of my ink, I used Dragon's Blood tree ink. It's a sap from an old native dragon tree. It's red like blood, so people named it Dragon's Blood. It's a beautiful tree. I'm gonna put photos on the screen, but I was using the ink and it spilled all over my page. It turned into the shape of a pear, which is kind of cool because I had dreamt of a pear the night before, which was a little freaky. So this is all that I have currently in my watercolor sketchbook. Moving on, this is my pencil sketchbook. So this is a Mont-Marte little pencil sketchbook, I guess. Just called a sketchbook. It has regular paper. It's definitely not multimedia paper. But the first sketch in here is this Australopithecus skull, which is when I was taking my anthropology program, I was really interested in the different skulls that were being shown of human evolution, and so I drew this Australopithecus skull, which I thought was really cool. I came home and I was like, I need to draw this. The next piece is just this hand playing guitar. I wanted to do a more photorealistic piece, but again, the paper wasn't really working with me very well, and it had been quite a while since I had done photorealism, so it doesn't look that real. The next page is just some flying birds, and I remember going to my anthropology program and drawing these. I don't remember exactly why. I think we had watched the Truman Show a day before, and it blew my mind, and it really inspired me for freedom and flying free as a bird, especially doing field research. I love anthropology like there is no tomorrow. And ancient history and ancient civilizations, and culture and mysticism, it like drove my soul. So after watching that, I drew these little birds. And the next page, you can see that I was a little uncomfortable doing this drawing. Austin and I stopped at this cafe, and the cafe was so unwelcoming and so eavesdroppy that I didn't have very much time to do a sketch. I think we stayed for a good 15 minutes, so I did these two butterflies. And the next one I did at my favorite cafe here in Vaudreuil-Dorion, Café Exo in Vaudreuil, and I love going there just to do some work. They also showcase beautiful art pieces. The next one I thought was really funny because in my drawing course, this was the first day of my drawing course, we had to make a friend and then draw their face without looking at the paper. So it was an incredibly daunting, like, make a friend right now and also draw their face, like the two most uncomfortable things to do on the spot. And especially for artists, introvert artists, it was really funny because everyone was like uncomfortable as I was. And then we continued to draw without looking at the page. So we had our hands touch our face and we had to draw what we were feeling. So I thought that that was a really cool experience. The next page is some mushrooms. I have a poster of mushrooms that you can find here in Canada. I just drew some oyster mushrooms, an amanita, and a morel mushroom. So these were some really cool mushrooms that I'm really fascinated by, especially the little holes in the morel mushroom. I've never seen one for myself in these Canadian forests, but I have seen amanitas and I believe oyster. I've seen a lot of those ones that grow on trees, like the big ones that grow on trees. I believe that they're called artist conch, if I'm not mistaken. And the last sketch in here is just this eye that I was doing on the train and metro. I was trying to stabilize while doing this, and I was trying to go for a lighter eye because I always do very dark, heavy eyes. So for this, I wanted to go a little bit lighter and test my abilities with using lighter HB pencils. So this is really fun. I had about 45 minutes to do this, and that is all that's in the sketchbook. The last sketchbook I have to show you guys is my acrylic paint sketchbook, and this I did right before I got into acrylic painting. What I started doing was every night after work, I would do one painting. I would try and finish it that night. Now, it wasn't always perfect where I could, because when I'd finish work, I'd have about 3 hours. I'd have about 3 hours of awake time before I had to sleep and do it all over again. So the first piece I have in here is this photo that I took of a mushroom in the forest, and it's actually one of my favorite photos. I'm going to put it on the screen if I can find it. And I decided to paint it using acrylic and the white liner pen. I just use a piece of parchment paper to line the pages so that it doesn't stick, because acrylic paint over time, especially the Mont-Marte brand that I use, does stick to itself, and I don't want it to rip. And so the next piece that I have over here is this photo that I took in Matane. We rented a hotel last year in Matane, Quebec, Canada, and we stayed for a night, and this was the beautiful sunset that you could see from the harbor and the dock, because there's actually a ferry that goes from, I believe, the other side of Quebec to Matane. The next painting has to be one of my favorite paintings, and this is the clock tower in Valleyfield. Yeah, I got hair on my face. And I took this photo when I was walking with Austin down the little strip of stores, and I really loved how the photo turned out, so I decided to paint it with my acrylics. And I love the touch that I did where the bushes go outside of the edges of the painting. And this was done with Muji pen, the white Muji pen, and the rest was acrylic paint. So I really like how this turned out. It makes me very happy. I think it's a really cool piece. Ah, no, my parchment paper. And the last piece I have to show you guys in this sketchbook is this frog that I took a beautiful photo of. I'm really proud of this photo. Again, I'm going to put it on the screen. We took a Halloween photo shoot at a 1800s cemetery, and oh my god, And I ended up painting this photo. I really love how this turned out. I thought it was really, really cute, and it was my first introduction to getting used to acrylic paints until I went on to the bigger pieces. And I think this is a perfect segue to get into the acrylic painting. So this is all that is in my acrylic sketchbook. Okay. So many paintings. I really don't want to damage these. Oh my god. So the first piece I have to show you guys is this beautiful boat piece. I'm really proud of how this one turned out. This was inspired by when I went to Percé, Quebec, Canada. I saw the beautiful Percy rock. And I have a hard time saying Percé or Percy because Percy is English and Percé is French. We went to this art gallery and it was beautiful, and there was a piece that heavily inspired me. I wish that I could remember the artist's name. I was heavily inspired, so I created this stormy sailboat. I wanted it to be mainly blue and a little bit of hue of pink, and this piece will be up for sale in my art gallery showing, so I'm gonna put the details in a future video before it goes up if any of you guys out there want to come say hi. Anyways, this took me about 3 weeks to do. It was my first introduction to painting, so I was taking my time. Moving into painting was definitely a challenge, but a very rewarding challenge at that. So this is piece number 1. It is one of my favorites and I love it so much. So moving on to piece number 2. So this was the second piece that I did when I started getting into acrylic painting, and it is this fantasy whale in the sky piece. I love how this turned out. I love how the water has colors that I would normally never mix together. I would never mix blue and red together, especially not in a painting. And with acrylic, it's especially hard because now that I know what oil feels like, I realized that I took the harder route with painting to begin with, but I'm really happy because it taught me technical skills that I would have never otherwise got. This piece took me, I want to say, 2 weeks because it was a lot smaller, but the details were a lot finer as well. So I love how this piece turned out. It is one of my absolute favorites. It's very whimsical, very fantasy. So the next piece that I have to show you guys is this Lake Louise piece. This was inspired off a famous picture. I did take the liberty to add some extra elements in here. I also used 3 different references from royalty-free photos of Lake Louise, and I did this giant rendition of the mountains and the sunset clouds. This piece took me again 2 to 3 weeks. I was still new to landscape in general. I had never done landscape prior. I had only done photorealism of objects, never landscape. Landscape was harder for me because the sense of depth is harder in terms of making something photorealistic. I love how this one turned out. It is a big boy. I really love him and I can't wait for him to go to his forever home. We'll be incredibly sad when these go because I put so much love and light into them. So piece number 4 and 5 have to be this really cool ship that I did. I was watching rewatching Pirates of the Caribbean around this time, and I really got inspired by ships and sailing off into a misty voyage of the unknown, and so I wanted to showcase that. This again took me 2 to 3 weeks, and it has to be one of my favorite pieces. All of my pieces are my favorite pieces. I would always start with the details and work outward until I realized that that is a drawing technique and it does not necessarily work with painting very well to get a smooth blend of the background. So now for painting, I use the technique of the background into the detail instead of the detail outward, because again, pencil drawing, I always started with the detail outward. I'm one of those artists that draw with like that one side of the brain that works with detail outward, so I would do the eye before I would do the frame of a face. But yeah, that definitely doesn't work with painting, and I had to learn in this piece how to do the background first. But moving on, the next piece that I have is this Egyptian Sphinx. So I love how this piece turned out. This is my Egyptian Sphinx. I actually did the border of this piece with 14 karat gold leaf paint. I wanted it to be full of life and full of richness to it because I love the history of ancient Egypt and how they created the pyramids using sound, and that's not a lot of that's not very popular information, but it's coming out there. It's coming out to the general public. I actually painted this with the original gold tops or gold tips to the pyramids. They have been long gone then, but I wanted to do the Sphinx with a little touch of gold in the stone and the golden pyramids, and I really love how it turned out. I'm trying to catch the reflectiveness on camera. Oh man, this is gonna be a long video. So the next two pieces that I have is this beautiful betta fish, and I will put a photo on the screen of a goldfish that I did for a commission for a family member, and she was very, very happy, which made me very, very happy. I actually loved how that piece turned out. It was one of my favorite pieces, that goldfish, so I wanted to add it in this video, but then right after I did this betta fish. And this one was done a lot quicker than the goldfish. This one actually took me 1 day. I took the whole day to paint this. Instead of taking weeks to do things, I would just paint my emotions all day. So this is one of them. And the next piece I did was this really cool jellyfish piece. So I got really inspired by a photo I saw online of these bioluminescent clear jellyfish, and so I wanted to do a piece where they're kind of floating through the lens of a submarine or something. It really pops off of the blue, and the plankton is kind of floating everywhere, and it was more of a whimsical approach to painting. It was less realistic, but it was so much fun for me because of how whimsical and freeing it was. This one I believe took me 1 week, and I just love how it turned out, but I think marine life and fish I'm going to hone in and do a lot more of because I genuinely really love doing marine life. I don't know why, it's just very soothing to the soul. The next two pieces that I have to show you guys are some of the last paintings that I did before switching to oil. Now I'm not like exclusively an oil painter now. I love oil paint and I will always do all the mediums that I love, but I did this really cool eye. I wanted to have like just an eyeball because I remember driving with my dad and I was just thinking like, my dad's also an artist, and it just popped in my head that I could do an eyeball. And then he said that I should do a pear, but I haven't done a pear yet. This was a really fun piece to do. It took me about a week to do, but I really love how it turned out, and I did my signature in red, so it kind of blends in with the veins of the eye, which I think is really cool. I'm also going to put on the screen a very large Pink Floyd commission that I did for my sister. I really love doing this piece. It took me a few months to do because I was doing a bunch of other paintings in between. One of the last round canvas acrylic pieces that I have to show you guys is this really whimsical jellyfish that is the symbol of the tree of life with the phytoplankton. This piece was really, really fun to do. It was the first oval piece that I've done, but I really like the shape of this canvas. Everything that I've showed you guys has been done with Mont-Marte brushes, Mont-Marte canvases, and Mont-Marte paint. I absolutely love Mont-Marte. Not sponsored, but I highly, highly, highly wish I was sponsored by them because I love them so much. So moving on to these square paintings, the first one I have to show you guys, and this is not in chronological order, this piece of toast with egg and avocado. I like to mentally think that this is a vegan egg because, as most of you guys know, I've been vegan for 7 years. I really loved the black accents with it, so I decided to paint it on this really thick little square. And again, I love how it turned out looking more like oil than acrylic, and it looks really cool. I like it. It's something that you'd see in a restaurant, and I'd love to do paintings for a restaurant in the future, so yeah. My shrimp just went crazy. Everybody okay in here? The next little square that I have to show you guys is this toast. I did some fig and cheese on toast. Again, I like to think that this is vegan cheese because there's actually a vegan cheese brand that looks like this cheese, but I did this really cool toast with a white background and I love how it turned out. I think it looks super, super cool. I definitely cannot wait to do more food art with oil paint because it'll give me the depth of realism that I've been longing after. So this again was done in acrylic, and it took, oh, I forgot to mention, this one took me about 1 day and this one also took me 1 day. So what's cool about these smaller pieces is that I could take a good like 8-hour chunk and ball out a painting. And the last little square I have to show you guys is this bird. This was inspired by my sketch that I did that I showed you guys like a good 5 minutes ago. I really liked this bird with the arched neck kind of free floating in the air, and it really was a representation of how I feel, how my heart feels on the inside. I'm a very free spirit and free bird, and I do not like chains, and I do not like societal structure, if you will. I really like how this guy turned out. Again, I was testing out my photorealism and I was doing the background with a palette knife. I wanted there to be more texture, so I really lathered on the paint. And I really like how it turned out. I think it's really cool. I'll also be putting a dog commission on the screen. It was a painting of a dog that I did for a friend. I forgot to mention that one. That one took me quite a long time to do. I think it took me about 2 weeks in between also doing some other pieces around that time. So the next one I have to show you guys is this painting of Amanita mushrooms, and I really love how this one turned out. I actually used a black canvas for this piece, which I like how in the back it's all black and it's very uniform, but I went over with black paint anyways because I wanted there to be a little bit more texture on the canvas, and I really don't like it when the canvas is bare. I will paint white over white just to make it feel like it's finished. And so I painted these Amanita mushrooms, some from reference, some from like imagination, and I love how they turned out. I actually did this right before I celebrated Christmas. Again, this was done within the span of a good 6 hours. And I lied about the oval pieces. I actually do have 2 more to show you guys, and this one is a beautiful lunar moth that I got highly inspired to paint. I saw photos of lunar moth and it was just so whimsical that I wanted to start a bug series, a very small canvas bug series. So I have a bunch of these oval small little canvases, and they will be mixed of oil and acrylic. I did the moon phases in 14 karat gold, and again this was done with Mont-Marte acrylic and Mont-Marte paintbrushes, just to specify, because these paintbrushes are so amazing at fine detail. They're the smallest fine brushes I've ever used, and it is 12:22 on the clock, so make a wish for the people watching. This was really fun to paint in conjunction with this tiny little bee. This piece was really cool though. I did this again within the span of like 4 hours. I love how this bee turned out. It's just really cute, and it's just handheld. It's very cute, and this is the last of my paintings that I am aware of. Oh, outside of this piece that I'm doing, this is an oil piece, an oil portrait that I'm currently working on. This is all the art that I currently have. I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing my art. I have been having so much fun painting these little guys and so much fun practicing and just being in my element. I love making art and I love making prints, and I think it's really cool that I get to share it with you guys through YouTube. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing all of my art. I hope that this inspired you to paint more, to draw more, to pastel more, to create more. And don't forget to subscribe, give me a like if you guys like this video, and also comment down below if you guys want to see any more art content videos. If there's any tutorials that you guys want me to do, leave it in the comments down below. I will be doing an art supplies video very soon. I have a plethora of art supplies. Thank you for entering my space and spending this time with me. I love you guys so very much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys! Mwah.